I'd like to call our budget meeting back into order, please, and I'll turn it over to Sam.
Okay. So, a fresh copy of the budget, line item proposed budget. So I amended the debt. Look on page 3. Vehicle loan proceeds, line 10,396,000. That is now $380,000. We're going to use capital reserve to purchase the remaining vehicles. So that number has increased to $429,000. Now, if you kind of skip back to, I haven't had time to number all my pages yet, but if you look at your non-departmental budget, what's actually your debt service budget, that has now reduced because our debt service payment is now reduced to $82,650.
Now, what page is that? I lost.
I don't have time to number my pages. So
The
it's
year
in debt service.
page 17 and 18. Bottom of 17, top of 18.
All of this brings your fund balance appropriation to, look back on page 3 once again. $73,537. And then your capital reserve ending fund balance is going to be $615,504.
If you have any questions for Sam Cancel, please ask them. So Sam, what's the percentage of increase then overall for our budget about approximately?
I didn't calculate a percentage. I calculated a total dollar amount.
Yeah.
So I think what you're asking is what have our net expenditures increased? In other words, how much
From last year's
How much
budget to
money
this year's
are
budget?
we spending on goods and services above and beyond what we spent last year?
Right.
Right.
So, of course, we know that the total budget number increased by almost $1.4 million in the general fund.
1.4.
That's right. However, as far as what we're spending on goods and services, that increased from 5.8 original budget to 6.7 amended. 6 million amended budget, excuse me, 5.8 million is our original budget, net expenditures. 6 million is our amended budget.
6,000,005.
6.7 is our proposed net expenditures.
So 700,000 above.
Your amended budget.
In
And
the
what,
general fund.
And so I've composed, I'm hoping this is helpful. This is a spreadsheet that I've printed out, prepared for you. Hoping to reconcile what our major increases were, net expenditure wise. In other words, what we're spending on goods and services, taking out transfers, etc. And I prepared that information for you by department. So our major increases, of course, are going to be VC3. Basically, just went back through all of our budget amendments. and listed the major items there. You can see them all there. Zerker was a big ticket item. That was for police. AFG grant for the fire. So we were awarded a grant. We had expenditures related to that. We had to replace the chipper truck. Various garbage truck repairs, about $40,000. We received a grant, stormwater grant for privet tree removal. That was a $90,000 grant. We finished the cemetery building. That was something that was just, I think that was about $19,000. Lot buybacks in the cemetery were never budgeted. Nashville was received an amount budgeted for that. It goes up and down. But we can reasonably budget something for that. Reimbursement to the enterprise fund, that's a balance sheet entry. We've already discussed that, but it shows us an expense. So I listed it here. We increased transfers to capital, that's not part of the system. Aviation lift station and dock lift station, DOC lift station. To budget. So we did. So that was current fiscal year. Major increases from our original to original.
Good question, Sam. Now that you've moved transfers and pass-throughs basically to their own budget, will they not show up as expenditures
They show as an expenditure.
in the future?
In the future, they will not be there. The ones that we did this year, no. Those one-time major transfers.
But I mean, in the proposed budget, you put them in their own department.
Correct.
So it'll be easy to factor those out. so to
Correct.
speak, So you can see
Yeah,
that.
that's right. That's right. So the difference between current year to what we're proposing here, you can see that our major increases are going to be VC3, our salary study, financial software, comprehensive plan. We increased staff by 3 in the fire department.
But that's,
Sanitation budget has increased significantly overall.
but that's, like the fire department, that's proposed because we don't have those yet.
That's right. So that's part of that.
proposed.
proposal.
That's
Yeah.
proposed.
Sanitation budget increased by $500,000.
Based
Because of the fire
on,
truck, or the garbage truck, excuse me,
right,
and just increased expenditures related to garbage.
the fees and stuff, okay.
Of course.
We did not have to pay a fine because we're getting it correct.
Correct.
Website. Retiree insurance. Fire station 2.
Non-departmental went down because a lot of the expenses you put where they were actually being incurred.
What is the proposed cost in next year's budget, general fund for the finance software,
The same.
which is,
It's 58,000 this year. It's
Yeah.
gonna be 58,000 for the next 3 years.
okay,
And then after that, it's gonna be 46,000 a year.
Maintenance.
And I will say that it's currently 36,000 a year. The reason for the increase is because it includes additional components that we didn't have before.
So our budget increase is 20%.
If you look at,
you're looking at compared to original or amended?
Original to proposed, 20%.
It's 11.5
It's
if
more
you're
like-
looking at expenditures.
Pardon?
It's 11.5 if you're looking at expenditures.
As opposed to.
20%, but it's not backing out on those one-time things or new items.
It's raining again, so you have to speak loud.
Sam, I'm just looking at the 2,119,876 is an increase from last year's budget of 10,346,000. Okay,
So,
and when I calculate that, it's a 20% increase from last year's budget.
so that's including, that does include all your transfers and net and past. So if you want to look at what your actual expenditures have increased, I would use 6.7 versus the 5.7 proposed to original.
Not the amended.
Or you can look at
I
the,
looked at the amended because that's what we actually expended. And that's where I got the 11.5.
coming at 11.6.
So Sam, you saying the actual increase is 11.6 from last year,
If you look at the amended,
if you look at the amended
Right.
line.
Expenditures.
Dollar wise, that's,
About 700,000.
so basically, we're talking to someone from the public and they're saying, town's budget's going up $700,000. What does that comprise? And we say garbage truck, the DC3, case study for the non-public safety, half of the comprehensive plan, and financial software. That in those items just there are nearly 700,000.
Plus other ongoing expenses, sanitation.
And and this does include when we get everything safe, you know, when we do business with the citizens and everybody else. Is that correct? Any questions or comments?
I have a very random question just regarding the line items for the MSD that we have. It's page 96 in the binder if anyone wants to go there. We have travel and education in there. Is that for the consultants? Like what
So
is that?
they were at one point going to a conference that's related to MSD. And that's what that's who the plan director.
Julie and Tina,
Yeah,
For MSD.
they have requested.
Well,
a conference.
Main Street Conference,
Okay.
annual Main Street Conference. We're not in the Main Street program, we just talk about it, so.
Okay.
The MSD, really needs to be discussed. We had that presentation. The consultant came in and gave a really nice presentation. We've got a lot of opportunities to do some really great things in that. Julie was kind of on her way out there when we were preparing this budget. But she had kind of a vision that she wanted to. We put the money in downtown strong grants at this time, thinking, maybe that our downtown area might have a need for some assistance because of COVID-19. So we have some money we might want to consider using some of that money to provide some assistance in
So this 37,000
that 37,000.
is coming out of ours to
To MSD.
provide coming out of the MSD funds. Now, can that be done without having an MSD meeting where,
We'll want to, again, the money in the MSD, the downtown strong, whatever you want to call it, we really need for that membership to come to the council and give a recommendation of
Right.
what they want to spend this for.
but you're just putting the possibility of it
Yes.
That's
into
right.
so that they can make a decision as to where that money goes.
And I had added some other line items, not, for us to use right now, but just for us to consider. For example, the historic preservation. I recall one of the citizen at the meeting, she came in and discussed the need for historic preservation. So I added that as a line item for your consideration in the future. Grants, just, we've got a lot of opportunities there.
Well, right, because with that presentation, there were quite a few ideas for what the MSD could do. Okay, so you just have it allocated for the potential to be using.
Yeah, money in, money out, basically, for MSD.
In the conference, they may, we plan treasure might not.
Okay.
We don't do that.
This is a lot to chew on.
Well, as Lynn kind of summarized, it is
Yeah.
an increase over the present year budget, but the increases are those things, the comprehensive plan, the garbage truck, VC3, the increase in sanitation because the contracts increased. So, I look at every one of those things and I don't really see where they're optional, where the council would have really a choice in not doing those. The comprehensive plan is mandated by the legislature, the General Assembly,
We need a new garbage truck.
the garbage truck.
We'll have a new one paid for repairs if we don't go in and get one. That's ridiculous.
So, I'm hoping when you talk to your constituents and they talk to you, that you can recall it is more, but this is what we're getting, these 9 or 10 things, and this is the price tag for those.
Sam, where does it say how much is coming out of fund balance, if any?
So
It is on page 3.
Line items are like 10, 397,
Okay.
1,000.
10,399, 0000 appropriation from fund balance.
Okay,
Will be $73,537.
okay, thank you.
I think what Sam put together and what you guys have agreed to today does a fantastic job of reserving the fund balance, maintaining our capital reserves, and adding a little bit to the debt service so that,
But not much.
but not much.
And I've still got it budgeted there at 3.25.
So we could have savings.
I'm really sorry that we've got to go up on our fees, but
No.
because I think our citizens will see that as a tax increase, just average citizen. But,
especially during difficult
yeah,
times.
but I don't know what else to do.
If we don't go up, we'll have to go in the fund balance
Right, for the
Right.
to
difference.
back it up, so.
And we might need that fund balance because we could come up much shorter than we are hoping we do not come up short. So we need to keep that, I think, for emergency.
The big ifs are sales tax revenue and people being able to pay property
Pay
taxes.
taxes.
I did feel better after calling around to some of the businesses that I heard from, and a lot of them are doing much better than they thought they would be.
Well, I think we need to go right away and start our fund savings for our next garbage truck.
Mhm.
So we'll have the money to buy one in 5 years, Do you keep them 5 years? This one we've got now, we've had how many years? 20?
I don't think we can
No,
keep
we-
it 10 years again, because you've seen what happened in the 9th year here with the one we got.
We thought it was 10, but
40,000.
it ain't lasting that long.
So probably about every 5 years,
7, I would say.
Seven. start saving us some money or another one.
So with the purchase of this new one, we would still have the current truck as a backup. We do have a backup now, right?
Well, we have the rear loader as the back.
As the backup. So we're gonna,
This one, I don't know if we want to hang on to it for
it
backup.
may be better to hang up with, to use the same backup we got now, rather than keeping this one.
You know, I don't know if you've ever had an old vehicle you thought you'd just keep for a spare when you got a new one. Every time you went to use it, it
Wouldn't do
start,
it.
it wouldn't do anything because you weren't using it.
Well, the old one that we got down in Georgia for 69,000,
Mhm.
that was,
That's the rear loader,
again,
the used one.
So that hadn't given us any problem so far.
Right? That one takes 3 men to run.
Right.
You have a driver and 2 guys on the back.
And the towns that have helped us, we're certainly appreciative
Oh,
for
Rocky
that.
Mount,
We needed
yes.
them too.
Even Zebulon, when our leaf truck was down, they allowed us to use one of theirs. And that was a real blessing. And Wilson was gonna let us use one of theirs, and Zebulon had one we could come over and get right away, which was identical to ours. So it was nice to know when we reached out to the surrounding towns and cities that they were more than willing to help us out in a pinch.
And we'll just have to reciprocate when we
Right.
can.
I don't think anybody will be one to borrow.
They are new garbage
At their own risk.
So we got one, but I don't know if it works or not.
Any other questions?
the spreadsheet that Lee gave us about the waste site cleanup and comparisons.
Yes.
Said it would cost 345,000 to get that cleaned up and so that we could use it.
Startup costs.
Well, this didn't include the cleanup, Louise. This was just simply getting,
Okay, we've already cleaned it up for
Okay.
75,000, okay.
this 345,000 was just to get equipped so that we could produce a compost material that people would want to come and get.
All right. So we're gonna pay 70,000 a year to have it loaded up and hauled out to the landfill.
The
Lee
concern
Collins.
we had was that even if we do the startup for the 350 and get a sellable compost, that the desire might not be there and we might have to haul that away anyway and then pay the hauling fees.
We're only allowed to have on that 2-acre site the volume that we take in a year. And that's what really got us some problems with this last cleanup. Is, you know, we had 7-8 years worth of material down there. And we should have been hauling it out, but you know, the farm fields that would have taken in the past, when it got mixed in with all the street cleaning litter, they didn't want it and created our own problem there.
That's a large portion of the fee increase, you know, this particular problem. So we've got to explain that to the citizens of Nashville. And that's going to be hard to explain because we messed up.
Well, it did have to do with the new inspector though, and that we
Mhm.
thought that we were doing everything properly and then found out with a new
We
inspection.
switched to new rules.
Right,
You know, and Louise, these
And
are
that's
things
hard to
we should have
explain,
been-
too.
it is.
we should have been doing them the whole time, and if we would have, the cost would have been greater up to this point than we've incurred. We've gotten by very inexpensively,
So
but we've not ultimately had a plan for what we were gonna do with that material, which we should have had in place also.
So the 70,000 a year, taking the debris to a landfill, you know, that could also increase. You know, there's no guarantee that that's going to be a fixed cost from here and.
No,
um,
and I believe Lee said he estimated that or projected that, you know, a little high.
But this whole thing is very unfortunate because the citizens of the town thought we were taking care of business and, you know,
So did the
And we
council.
thought we
Yeah.
were.
You guys did too?
We thought we were. You know, we didn't realize we were digging a hole for ourselves. Until the new inspector.
It's more like a mound.
Well, yeah, it wasn't a hole, it was a mound.
so that 750 increase is going to hit people hard during a bad economic time, and it's unfortunate. And right now, we are with the understanding that Rocky Mount is not increasing water or sewer But do we have that in writing?
I got Benton Brenton's email on it.
Any other input into the budget concerns?
We don't have a one more meeting scheduled to go over this budget, right?
Well, this, yes, we left the option of having another meeting like this.
If we
If
needed it. Mhm.
So I'll ask you now, do you feel as if you need another work session on this?
If we don't need one, what I'll do, we'll meet on June 2nd. We'll propose the budget.
Have the public hearing?
I will provide you with updated copies, since the numbers have changed for the better.
Ahead of time.
They have. I will provide those. So in your budget book, you've got budget summary, all of those numbers, all of those spreadsheets. I'll provide you updated numbers.
And you'll give us those before the actual meeting so we can
Yes.
study those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll provide you an updated proposed line item budget that doesn't have the long column. That way it will fit nicely in your budget book. A new fee schedule. I'll go ahead and update the presentation. That's my presentation, I believe, what you're looking at. So I'll go ahead and update the numbers there. Update the capital reserve plan, just some general updates. I'm not gonna update everything, probably.
And you, Sam, I would appreciate it if, like, I think it was Lynn that was talking a while ago, if you will give me specifics, so when I talk with the citizens, I can tell them the truth and exactly what we did, because, I just want them to sit, I don't want to play around with them when they call and ask me questions, so that would help me greatly.
Increases with an explanation.
Right, just like you listed them a while ago. Something like that would help greatly.
Same on page 6. I don't know if you have that, your presentation. One that. Current year budget update, enterprise fund. That budget amendment number 15, $1,208,826 non-cash reimbursement to capital. You can give us an explanation of that, because that skewed the numbers so much, that non-cash reimbursement.
Say that's, we will never, ever see that again, in any budget ever again.
But it certainly skewed our budget. I mean, it
Yeah,
makes,
so what happened was several years ago, the enterprise fund promised this capital project, well, there's two of them, two separate ones, that they would give those capital projects money. They budgeted for it, but they never gave the money. So the projects were already complete. The money was already spent in those capital projects. So when I was going through my balance sheet, I had negative cash balances in two projects.
you know what the projects were.
One was the CFE infrastructure.
Okay, so that was a sewer outfall line.
That's right. They were both water and sewer capital projects. And then one was a smaller one. It's like 40,000.
But you said they were already paid.
Right, she just had to do an on-paper transfer to
Basically,
account for it,
the
to make the
enterprise fund-
balance, to balance the books properly.
The enterprise fund still owed that money to those capital project funds.
So it's just a cleanup, really, is what
Yeah.
you're
Right.
saying.
So this was an accounting
Yes.
cleanup.
Yes.
No actual money came out or was spent.
We just,
Did you
Because
see
monies
that
aren't
when you
spent.
were,
just trying to balance the budget. Balance
I
the
don't
books.
recall it, but I was obviously more focused on the general
That's
fund
right.
than I was.
we've had so many people in our books that I'm thinking, how was this overlooked?
Well, I look back, I believe the auditor said something, did mention it to him. And they did an entry. They did do an entry for to book the liability. I know I'm starting to count. So it still showed that the money was owed. But what they needed to have done was a budget amendment, just what I've done, a budget amendment, and go ahead and move that money, get it over and done with. Probably they should have done it several years ago.
But you can see what I mean when I'm saying it skews the,
The total
yeah,
for the amended budget.
when in fact, it looks like we were spending money like
But it's strictly just a book
Mhm.
entry. There's no cash involved as far as they're treating each individual fund like it's its own entity. And this one owed money to the other one, but it's all in total in the same place. So it's like a wash in essence, when you look at the big overall picture.
But trying to explain that.
It's hard.
It's
And the average.
For a non-accounting line.
Right. If someone looks at an amended budget that's 1.5 higher than the original, you're
Yeah,
thinking,
so what
well,
were you
came
doing?
back and asked for more, for more,
Right.
for more. That's not what happened.
And so when you start comparing budgets, it's not a good comparison.
Should have been done years ago.
On page 14 of the same. Proposed general fund revenues by type 2021, okay.
This.
Yeah, right. I had a question about why ad valorem was only 34% when it's usually 41 to 43. And the one takeout that seems to change this pie chart is the interdepartmental transfers. I don't recall that we ever had that before. 8%.
Well, anytime you receive so basically the interdepartmental transfer is the monies that we're taking out of our capital reserve fund.
Okay.
Also, what skews the number is the debt proceeds. We have a $650,000 loan there, so that's going to be reduced. So these numbers are now going to be amended based on, this is all based on the ratio.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Like I say, if we don't, I feel I need to have another meeting on this. I'll make sure I provide you with updated numbers.
What is the desire of the council? Do you want to have another meeting or just let her get the information and get it to us for the June 2nd meeting? Is it June 2nd?
That's right.
I have asked all of my questions. I'm fine with just getting information.
I've asked all my.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
My only hope is that we have enough revenues to cover everything. And so much uncertainty, it concerns me.
With the public hearing, now that we're meeting virtually like this, from what Tessa tells me, we can have a public hearing, and in the past, after the public hearing, we could act on it. Now we have to wait 24 hours. So when would be our meeting, if we have the public hearing on the budget on June 2nd, when would be the meeting for approving it?
They can recess at the end of that June 2nd meeting and tell the public when they will reconvene to give the decision on the budget.
Like June 4th?
Correct. Because they have to give at least a full 24 hours, or they can adjourn that meeting and call a special meeting just to adopt the budget. It's really whatever they so decide to do.
How do your calendars look for June 4th? Have a special call meeting for approving the budget?
June 2nd is the meeting. And then June 4th will be the call meeting to approve the budget.
At 7 PM.
Yes, I understand.
June 4th? Okay, I'm good.
Any other questions?
We'll plan on that.
I would personally just like to say thank you for council for all the time you've spent on this budget. And being new at this, it was very time consuming, and I was a beginner. And I have spent hours and hours, and I'm still probably haven't even gotten out of grammar school yet. But and you've just been, I appreciate your honesty. And Sam, I appreciate you putting up with me asking all the questions and everything. Just everybody together, you have shown me that we're truly team players, and that means a lot to me, and I'm sure to our citizens. So with that being said, is there a motion for us to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Sam, thank you so much for all the work you've done. And Randy.
Thank you, Paul.